Hi, this is pilleater. I'd like to discuss what's wrong with America. So, what's wrong with it? Well, I have 10 points listed. I'm going to go through each one what I think is wrong with America. First, there's irony and insincerity. Irony, and even satire, has become the staple for both humor and intellectual pursuits. To laugh at internet memes is a form of insanity. No one is willing to take responsibility for their actions. I love you will destroy a relationship than elephant juice, which will save it. People don't want to have sincere connections to the text anymore or what they mean. They are rather being ironic and having insincere notions about life because once responsibility is taken, you have to mean what you say, and no one wants to take up that responsibility. Inauthenticity. Everyone is looking for authenticity more than spirituality. Spirituality, as in non religious, but higher pursuits for society and civilization. Inauthenticity is a result of consumer choices, mimic desire, peer pressure, and false conclusions, a lack of intellectualism and laziness. It is believing one is authentic, but socially constructed and rather escapist, finding place in society as a form of arrogance, like moving somewhere else. The city becomes a spectacle and a creation of capitalism and consumer culture. So, the inauthentic notion that you are a New Yorker, but you're actually from Cincinnati. The ideal that you could just move to, say, Tokyo and become Japanese over an American, or that you consume and certain things make you inauthentic. You're not following the real biological makeup and characteristics who you are. You're socially constructing it and being arrogant and taking pride in an inauthentic identity. Toxic masculinity. To be a man is a social construction, not a necessity. A weak man may advocate what he thinks masculinity is over a strong man. Masculinity creates arrogance and empowers the weak. Unethical actions are justified through masculinity. The spiritual man, or father figure, has been destroyed. How is every single incel or guy or nerdy guy supposed to be masculine like Jaw Claw Van Damme? It's just not possible. And to believe in masculine culture is to empower the weak, to believe that they're somehow men. It really distorts and transforms males into something disgusting and corrupts them. Rape culture and consent. Rape culture is a byproduct of capitalism and using people as products. Consent is an agreement contract, not a form of intellectualism. Nobody really consents to anything. It is a belief. Promiscuous and abusive sex is justified through consent and queer identity. It's a lifestyle choice, they might say. Well, why not being a serial killer or a pedophile? Avocation of being disloyal and irresponsible. Sexuality becomes a tool of empowerment for the weak. Romance is distorted through adventure and ego. It is rape culture that is basically a byproduct of consumer culture and using people as things and not looking deep inside that they have a form of intellectualism. And so it's embarrassing too that supposedly you consent to S&M or BDSM stuff, or you consent to rape because you like that kink. That's very perverted and distorted. Capitalism. The entire economic system we live under has created most cultural and racial problems. Capitalism destroys spirituality and advocates exploitation, all while being veneered as economic liberalism and having a freedom to choose. Capitalism will destroy the planet by resource depletion and overpopulation. People will have little concern for each other and justify murder. To live authentic in this society, one has to be a capitalist, secretly exploiting people looking for the truth. So, in other words, to live in this society, I have to make my monies by the means of being a restaurant manager or selling my books or selling my YouTube channel at your expense of you consenting as a consumer. Capitalism promotes this culture, and we don't live authentic lives. So everything advocated under this system is a form of lying. It's a form of the matrix. Nobody can trust anyone because everyone is out there to get the profit. So capitalism remains pretty much the center of all our issues, really. It's also the neoliberal establishment. The far left says it's conservative white people, and the far right says it's the Jews. But actually, it's the neoliberal establishment. It's a system that advocates global capitalism while advocating egalitarianism and pseudo social justice culture. The far right calls it cultural Marxism, but that is one sided. Abolishing capitalism would abolish the neoliberal agenda. All censorship, stubbornness, and class gatekeeping is advocated by neoliberalism. And to destroy the neoliberal establishment would destroy capitalism and destroy all the values and morals that goes with it. It's also the modern bourgeois class. The modern bourgeois class is the root of most social issues. They are still living, and they have sadly influenced the next few generations, to some degree. The bourgeois live in a country that was 95% white and still thinks it's like that today. It's no longer. They have a trust in capitalism. They believe in working hard, have this assumed fake Christianity while keeping a facade that everything is normal. They assume their children will do the same. This is not an attack on American white people, but an attack on that zeitgeist. We must kill bourgeois values and replace them with higher values of intellectualism. No more Fred Flintstone, lunchbox, dinosaurs, green dinosaur dad coming home to beat his wife and verbally abusive children. No, that is a modern middle to upper middle class bourgeois value that must be abolished as a byproduct of capitalism. And the people who are advocating this is unfortunately the Republican and Conservative Party. It's also individualism. Individualism as an ideology is regressive, however, is a unique trait of Western people. Individualism is socially constructed. We are advanced animals with sophisticated languages and consciousness. This is not individuality. To bring the world together under individualism is being pretentious. Intellects are not advocates of individualism. This individual worship came from Greek Roman philosophy, as well as the rest of the Romantic Western canon. Jesus Christ presented that humanity had a soul, but was not an advocate of individuality. Humans, or animals, are collective. Civilization and society operates on collective urges. You cannot have a collective of individuals. It is a veneer to hide Freudian urges. To assume that we're individuals or that we are advocating individualism is a form of arrogance. It's this LARPy, role-playing ideal that I'm different from you and that we would all be happy if we were all special snowflakes. That is individualism, and it's an unfortunate thing among Western people, and it is a part of the problem because we deny what it's for the good of humanity. Deracination. This assumes humanity is separate from his natural self. It's believing humanity will escape his body and become an immortal robot. It's denial of nature. It's the belief that we choose our own path in life. Belief we are God. It's a form of solipsism. There is no roots in deracination. We don't owe anyone anything. We are denying our connection to something greater. So the deracination is really believing we are all gods and that life is but a dream. And finally, there is ideology. Intellectualism is being confused with ideology. Ideology is chosen over critical thinking. Ideology is a consumer choice. Ideology replaced religion. Ideology advocates individualism. Ideology is the wheezy way out. Ideology creates an arrogant, self-centered person. It is that, too, that ideology basically makes people into religious people, into basically people all for wrong pursuits, thinking that everything can be solved through a easy pocket knife ideology. This is again the avocation of the bourgeois class and everything which is capitalistic in our society. So those are some points I would like to say, the 10 points, what's wrong with America. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to youtube.com/pilleater.